you think of burnout as predominantly work related. Men, as a man, if you feel that you aren't performing at work and that you're struggling and it's that those feelings of inadequacy, feelings that you're letting not yourself down but your family down, those guilt, when that guilt and shame starts to kick in, that's a really dark place to be, and you don't want to talk about it out of fear of, or I think one of the things is when you talk about something, it then becomes real as well. Whereas if you don't talk about it, you're still dealing with that yourself, and you try to do something about it, and you couple all that stress at work, but then think about cost of living crisis, so obviously inflation and rising energy costs, and not be as a man, we think we're providers and we should be able to provide. That's the traditional view, isn't it? And with cost of living crisis, the impact of COVID still, that those increased workloads, it just piles up, and I do think that does impact on those statistics, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we talked about men there, but obviously women as well. There's these days there are more and more women that going out to work. Either they're forced out to work because of the cost of living and things like that, or there's just more pressures of normal life as well on everyone, I think, generally, isn't there? And we go at such a fast pace. Nobody particularly stops and reflects that well, that I find, what they're doing, what they should take on, how much they should take on, how to distribute all of that. Really, you just feel like you got to kind of get on and just keep going. And I think there's always the concern that then if you don't perform, or you express that you can't perform that well and you need to tailor your work back or whatever, or take something away from your day-to-day life, then you failed, or that someone will replace you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just to mention, like I say, we talked about men and women, it comes the whole other that complexity. So if you think traditionally, historically, the man would go to work, the woman would stay at home and look after the kids. Now that has changed, hasn't it? We've come a long way, and women go to work because they want to go to work, they want careers, and that's absolutely right, and rightfully so. But also, if you have someone who does want to stay at home and look after their kids, and be with the kids, and that's absolutely fine as well. They can't really do that anymore because of how expensive everything is. One income isn't enough. So there's a certain group of women that will also be forced to go to work because they have to. But the thing, and society's done that, and how much everything costs now. But for those people who, but then there's still an expectation on, and I know that's changed as well, but there's still an expectation on women that they take over a lot of the parenting roles. So, you have a lot of women who get up at 6 a.m. and do all the things for the kids. They then go to work and have these careers. I still don't think, it's understood, and there's cultures at work that don't respect the work-life balance. They then come home and it's washing, it's cooking, it's clean, and they still take on those roles, those traditional historic roles. So, women and particularly mothers, it's a constant shift from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed, and that's a huge factor of burnout as well.
And that's why I like the fact when you said about getting up at 6 a.m. And I think it is. I think it's important, and I always express that people need to never feel ashamed to say, I need time for myself. And I have a mum friend that's just had her first child. He's a year old now, but she said to me, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm a teacher. She's a teacher as well. She's gone back to work. And I just said, find that one thing that you're selfish about. Every week you say, I'm going to do that, or I sit in the other room and I do my artwork, or whatever it is that you like doing. I have the hour, I'm closing that door, I'm going out for my walk, my time, I'm gone. You've got to be sort of have that, and your hour in the morning. I think that's exactly, that's perfect. When you said that, I thought that is exactly what everyone needs to hear, that you as a busy dad as well, doing this, promoting mental health issues, being a real advocate for this, you take that time.
Yeah, and I think that, because what we tend to do when things become really difficult, and we see burnout as work related, but it's it used to be, it was first coined for the health profession, but it goes across all different professions now, and it incorporates everything that we have going on at home as well. I do think when we're burnt out, what we do without realizing is we think the answer is double downing to double down on all the stressors, all the work-related stressors that are causing us to feel burnt out. Because if we work harder, work more smarter, we extend our working hours, because things will eventually get easier. But what we do is we sacrifice the things that we enjoy doing, the things that are hobbies, because we don't see ourselves as priority. Exactly. But these are things that keep us well. So, the spending time with your partner, spending time with your kids, if you exercise, whether it's running, swimming, walking, dancing, whatever it might
Yeah.
be, sort of eating well, all those things that we
Yeah.
sacrifice to try and get on
Yeah.
top of the workload. We don't realize in the moment that all we're doing is making things
No,
worse. You have to prioritize yourself. It's
you
that thing
do.
that you can't pour from an empty jug. And if you want to be your whole self at work and be a good partner and a good parent, you have to put yourself first. It isn't selfish.
No.
A complete priority. If you then want to be able to go and
Yeah.
do that, and perform in other areas, you have to put yourself first and carve time out for yourself first and
Yeah.
foremost. That's the key message. Yeah.
Brilliant. No, that is exactly, I just think it's really important, but not enough people do it because they throw themselves into everyone else and
Mm,
put all of their energy into everyone else and making everyone happy. But if you're not happy yourself, then you can't do your
mm,
best for everyone else.
yeah.
It's so hard, isn't it? Because as well, I think we keep going back to that being a parent, but a lot of it, I think, changes when you do become a parent because you love other people so much that you just want them to be healthy and well. And then you
Mm,
do kind of forget yourself. And that happens a lot. I mean, let's face it, it happens to most people, doesn't it?
yeah.
And then, yeah, you just start, before you had kids, you start keep working at the same level as before you had kids, but you just can't. You just
Yeah.
can't. It's impossible. You can't do it. You
No,
can't do it.
I think, like you say, with kids, they're dependent on you, aren't they? So they almost have to be top of the list. But I think we so easily get into that habit of making sure the kids are all sorted first, which is
Yeah.
great. But then we start, we take that into other elements of, like say, at work and you said it, we put everybody and everything else first before our own needs. I don't think we intentionally do it or we realize that we're doing it. So I think
Yeah, I think you're right.
podcasts like this, or just doing some, pausing and reflecting about what is
Yeah.
going on in your life and where are
Yeah.
your priorities, is really important. Because if you take the time, because when you're on that hamster wheel, you're just going and going and going. You
Yeah.
don't stop to think what's going on here, but pausing and reflecting on your situation and thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not. What am I doing for me to keep me well? All I'm doing
Yeah.
is performing for everybody else, and I just
Yes.
feel stressed, overwhelmed, and
Overwhelmed.
effectively burnt out. And you've got to be able to nip that in the bud and think, actually, I need to make some changes now. Is huge, and
Yeah.
will stop you. Because if you hit burnout, it's a recognized illness. It's a lot more serious, I think, than people think. There's
Oh
that
yeah,
dark place,
absolutely.
that you're in a real dark place. And people who've been through burnout describe it as having to literally find themselves all over again. And people
Yeah.
have had around 6 months off work to do
Yeah.
that, just because of how damaging it can be. So
Yeah.
recognizing when you are in a really stressful situation and doing something about it before it gets to that point is, it'll be the best
Really.
thing you ever do, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And saying no. Learn to say no
Yes, that's a
is my
huge
one
one.
tip. There's times now where I feel like I never used to say no. I'm a very much a yes person. And it
Yeah,
is just recently, I think people have kind of actually gone, good for you. Because I've said, no, I can't do that actually. Or no, I've realized I'm not going to do that. And, before I'd have taken on all these things and just gone with it just because
yeah,
I'm one of those overachievers, as we discussed
yeah,
before, that likes to just make sure everyone's happy and that I'm doing my best. And then you just end up going, I just can't. Then
yeah,
the anxiety becomes real, doesn't it? You realize how much you've taken on and just the pressure, and then
yeah. But we naturally, like, so many people should be able to relate to. We're people pleasers. We
hmm
the thought of upsetting somebody else
yeah,
is that intense that we're more willing to not do that at the detriment of ourselves. So we'll think, I really can't do that because I'm really busy already. Things are really
yeah,
difficult. I'm gonna have to do that at night time when I should be spending time with family.
yeah,
But I don't want to upset them by saying no. So you say yes, and then you deal with it,
yeah,
and you take that on. And I always remember an example. There's a healthcare support work on the first job that I did, and she was absolutely amazing. She did everything. Healthcare support workers now, they're really skilled.
yeah.
They don't just make beds and do and
No,
sort meals
God
out for
no.
the patients.
Yeah,
They take bloods, they take the vital signs. And they do. That's just off the top of my head. They do a lot more.
yeah,
And this particular healthcare, she just get straight away. She was on it. She was doing everything that needed to be done. And there was other healthcares that were busy, doing their thing. But this particular one was just so. And we were saying, lots of praise. She's amazing. But then what you end up doing is, I'll give it to this healthcare because she'll do it. She'll get
you'll
it
do
done.
it.
And
You
then
overload them.
so without realizing, you end up overloading them. And